Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It is me, the Mysterious Cameraman, and today we are talking about another criminal law procedure. This one is very different from the other two we've done simply because it isn't about Arrow. In our first episode, we discussed if Arrow is really a villain in Season 1 of Arrow, and then we discussed if Malcolm Merlyn was really a villain about the crimes he committed in Season 1 with the Undertaking. Here we're going to be discussing a little bit different. We're going to be discussing if the Joker is really a villain, if he's evil, because I think that's kind of stupid, but can Joker really be held accountable for his crimes? And we're going to be discussing this through a lot of different criminal law aspects, and we're going to get into that video now. So there are a few charges and different crimes we're going to be discussing, and we could really be discussing any type of Joker. There was Joker in Gotham, technically, if we discuss those characters. There's Joker in the Dark Knight trilogies. There's Joker, technically, in, Suicide Squad, or Zack Snyder's Justice League, or in Batman 89, or in that other thing that happened before then. I could go on and on. I'm not going to talk about that. That's boring. We're actually going to be talking about, today, Joker specifically from the Dark Knight. Simply because it's the best Joker. Pretty undeniable, and also because we don't have the time to talk about every single crime any Joker has committed, but we're going to be focusing on specifically this Joker, but it's going to apply to every single on-screen Joker, so it's not like this is only for Dark Knight. It really applies to all of them. So what we're really going to be discussing is, are his crimes able to be fought with an insanity charge? And very simply, what an insanity charge is it's very simply, if you are insane, you can plead insane, and instead of going to prison, you'll go to a psychiatric hospital. So instead of saying, oh, you committed 20 murders, you go to prison, or you get the death sentence, it is you plead insanity, and you then get mental help. So really, we're asking if the Joker can plead that. We're not saying if Joker's evil, because he's an evil. He's evil, period. It's really more, what does that mean for these? Can he be charged with it? So we're going to be talking about 11 different crimes in The Dark Knight. We're first going to be discussing what type of crimes these are, and then we're going to be bringing in the insanity charge. First, there's a bank heist, and there's a few people that are murdered during this whole robbery. This is 5 first 3 murders. There's a good chunk, without a doubt. So he commits, I think, probably 6 first 3 murders. It's already adding up. He then kills this one guy with the pencil thing, when he bangs his head into the table with the pencil, and it's kind of gruesome. I don't know, I can see the scene in my head. I don't know what anything about it, but it's that scene. So then we have the murder of Commissioner Loeb and Judge Chirillo. So this is when he poisons the coffee and then bombs the car. These are also very much first 3 murder. At this point, we're not really breaking any ground from the videos we've had in the past. This is a pretty straightforward thing at this point. He's killing people. It's pretty simple. If we want to discuss what first degree murder, we'll do that quickly. First degree murder is a pretty straightforward term. First degree murder is if you commit a murder with some sort of premeditation. So you're saying, I'm going to kill this person, I'm going to premeditate it, then they're going to die. It is very simple. It's for example, in Arrow, we were discussing how aiming the bow is premeditation because you're moving the object, you're thinking about doing it. Premeditation doesn't have to be more than a few seconds. So everything here is premeditated. He's murdering it, he's car bombs, it's a lot. Next is the murder of Mayor Garcia. This is another one. This is another, I feel very simple one. I don't see how this is much of a surprise if you think it is. This is when he dresses up in the police uniform and then just kills him. I feel that's a pretty obvious one. I don't know. So that's another one. I feel a lot of these are just pretty simple first 3 murders. Here's an interesting one. When he murders Lau, he burns him on a pile of money. So that's, I guess, more interesting. That's different type of first degree murder. At this point, everything's first degree murder. We have the kidnapping of Harvey Dent and Rachel Dawes. This is kidnapping charges. You're getting original Joker, but then you murder one of them first degree and then disfigure the other one. Not great. He then bombs a hospital. Like, if you don't think he can get any worse, he bombs a hospital. Like, you kind of have to watch The Dark Knight because it's such a good movie. I've spoken about it so many times. I love that movie with, like, all my heart. But, like, you can't, like, it's funny. Like, he bombs a hospital. I don't think anyone was killed in it because they evacuated the hospital. Then he also blackmailed and threatened to blow up a hospital. So, like, it isn't much better. You know, like, threatening to blow up a hospital, actually blowing up a hospital. But now we get threatening charges on him. Like, we got, like, a list of charges that we can charge Joker with. So at this point, he's either going to jail or maybe pleading insanity. We'll get to that. We then have the hostage social experiment when he rigs the two ferries. Honestly, this is a crime, but it isn't as bad as the other ones. I hate to say it, but because no one's murdered in it, yes, we know the bombs are placed. So yeah, this is like attempted murder, I feel. I think you could probably argue attempted murder for this. He then murders a lot of people, and then he also dresses everyone up and then threatens to blow them up and force the police into the trap and stuff. Like, what's that one again? That's when he, like, threatens to do the mass murder and rigs the villains explosives and wears the clown masks. Yeah, that one. He also has the psychological manipulation of Harvey Dent and then some arson. It's like all your normal stuff you expect from the Joker. But could the Joker be charged? I'd be crazy to make a video and say, we're gonna talk about if the Joker's a villain or not. He is a terrible, terrible, terrible human being. But the question here is can he really be charged with going to jail? Can he go to jail? Will he plead insane? And you could argue even that a psychiatric hospital isn't much better. But it is, for most people, I'd say, they'd probably prefer to be there than in prison. So, could you plead insane? And then he'd also get the psychiatric help he desperately needs. But could he plead insane and instead of going to prison? You'd think he could. Like, I think you could think he could very easily plead insane because if he's insane, then you just plead it. That's a done deal. But the issue with pleading insanity, which is, like, where it gets interesting, is because you could also just very simply say, it is like, you can reject insanity, very simply. Like, you can plead it and not have to, like, sorry, I'm like kind of sick, but it's okay. So, like, it's very simply saying, would a reason, it's the same as the provocation test, which is very simply, there's two types, subjective and objective. There's subjective is, in the defendant's mind, was he actively provoked? And an objective would be, would a reasonable person have responded this way? This is a little bit different, but it's like, in the defendant's mind, was he actively provoked into doing this? Probably, but was he actively provoked? Like, would a reasonable person have responded this way? No, probably not, but he also wasn't really actively provoked. So, like, he was, I don't even know if he was fully provoked. He's kind of just an evil guy. So, I don't even know if you need to, like, argue that way. But you could first make the argument, could you get through the insanity charge? Or, do you think a jury would kind of just say, screw insanity, you deserve to be in prison or sentenced to death? And with the amount of first-degree murder and crimes he commits, you could probably get him the death sentence. But you could if you look at insanity, look at provocation, he was active, like, you could argue he was provoked, but he wasn't really provoked. He was provoked by his father, but he wasn't really provoked by the city. A reasonable person would not have done this. That's easy. But it's a very interesting thing, because you could very easily argue insanity. You could. Could you win insanity? And I think that's where it gets more challenging, because there are times when people fail to get insanity, like, go through it. It's not easy. Because, like, for example, you could plead insane if, like, for example, you, like, do all these crimes. And I'm not going to give examples of real court cases, but that's what I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at a real court case. So you could plead insane, but the court could reject the insanity. And then you could then be given a death sentence. Like, you could do a lot of ways to do this, but you could also say he is being deterred. And let's talk about what deterrence is. So what deterrence is there's a few types of deterrence, but deterrence is one of the ways of punishment. There's three main ways or purposes of punishment. The first is retribution, which is like trying to make them pay for their guilt, Hammurabi's code, all that stuff you learn in social studies. Then rehabilitation is trying to make it so their goal is not to commit the crime again, which is what pleading insanity is. That's the punishment, rehabilitation. Or it could be deterrence. There's two types, individual and general. Individual deterrence is deterrence in general is the attempt to stop criminal behavior through fear. So let's say you commit a crime and you see someone else who did that crime and they're like sentenced to death or something. Then you might say, I don't want to commit that crime, I don't want to die. So that is what deterrence is. And in this scenario, there's two types, individual, which is to make it so the criminal stops doing their crime, or general, which is to make other people not do that same crime. So you could say this is more for other people with how bad Gotham has gotten. I don't think this is really a deterrence thing. I think if they're punishing, it's for rehabilitation. So in this situation, does he have reason to argue for provoke it? And in my opinion, he was not really provoked. His father made him crazy, but he was not actively provoked into doing this. So I think a good lawyer could argue insanity. And as I've said in all these criminal law videos, there is no yes or no answer at the end of the day. I'm giving you my personal opinion based on the facts that are here. But you could believe something different, and if you argue it better than me, you're going to win the case. So I'm about to give you my explanation why I believe he would not be able to go through with the insanity charge. However, you could say something different. You could say, based on what insanity is, I believe that can happen. On some of my past videos with criminal law, I've gotten some really good debates with some people about why they could have gotten charged with terrorism for Malcolm Merlyn. That was a very good debate. Or for Arrow, you could say vigilantism, and that could be another crime that covers up all the first three murder. So it's a lot of different things you could question. But now, why do I think that he is actually can't plead insanity? So why I believe that Joker can't plead insanity in this scenario, he could in another movie, in Batman 89, I don't fully remember, I haven't seen that in a while, but if there was a different reason there, he could have pled insane. But in my opinion, in The Dark Knight, Joker can't plead insanity. Because he's never really provoked by Batman. He kind of is just crazy. He is hurting Gotham, but his dad's the one who hurt him. And then that he just kind of became crazy. Is he insane? Yes, but he cannot prove that he's insane, and he was actively, he wasn't provoked into doing it. So an insane person you could argue insane. I think it is a very fine line, and you very easily could argue insanity. The reason why I don't think it's actually as easy is because what's so challenging with arguing insanity is because if you argue that, you then have to prove that he's insane. And yes, he committed these crimes, but because he was not actively provoked, it isn't going to be very easy to argue insanity. And that is why I personally believe that he cannot be charged with insanity, and I would argue that he should get either lifetime in prison or the death sentence for his crimes in The Dark Knight. Could you argue insanity? I'm going to say again, you very easily could. I personally am not going to. So besides that, that's all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know this one was a little shorter. Soon enough, we're going to do one on the Sokovia Accords and if the Avengers are innocent or guilty. So stay tuned for that. I'm really enjoying making these videos, but please try to give me feedback if you enjoy these types of things. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.